Happy Monday, Gems. This week for my vlog video, I am going to talk to you about my mom's birthday. So her birthday was on Friday, and she is like the hardest person on the planet to buy for. And this is all applicable because we're going to talk about following instructions and kind of stop the comparison between our first time doing something and recipes that other people seem to have nailed down. So anyway, she's really difficult to buy for. Like, she doesn't really care about like purses or jewelry or like stuff like that, and so I never know what to get her, and I've already gotten her like a gazillion candles. So I wanted to make her a cake this year, and she loves chocolate and chocolate cake, and I don't really like chocolate cake a ton, so I do a lot of, well, an okay amount of baking, but I never really have made a chocolate cake before because it's not something that I would eat really. And so I decided to take a stab at a chocolate cake for her. I made a ho-ho cake. And the recipe that I found online, it said like an hour and a half total, right? And so I was like, okay, like I can do that. I was making it the other day, and I was like, okay, I can allot an hour and 40 minutes. And it ended up being like a 5.5 hour process. Granted, I forgot something when I went to the store, so I had to make a quick run to the store, but that took like no more than a half hour, 45 minutes of that 5.5 hour time up. Like, that was all that the run to the store and back took. And so it obviously took me like way longer than I was anticipating, and much longer than the recipe had said. And that happens to me a lot when I either make something like that, or when I'm like the queen of Pinterest fails, because they never take me as short of amount of time as people that put up the instructions and the DIYs do, so I don't check them often. But that's how life is. And we've gotten into this habit of constantly looking for inspiration and recipes in baking and otherwise, and instructions from other people, because we see all of these people online that are really successful, or all not even online, like we see other people in our lives and they're really successful and they seem like they have it all together and that they know what they're doing and that they've got their steps nailed down, and it can be intimidating. But we have to remember that in order for somebody to become good at something, in order for them to have a recipe that's even worth sharing, or a step-by-step process that is even kind of worthy of being put out there, or not, I don't necessarily think that, but in terms of when people are creating things that they're going to explain to others, in order to have something that's even explainable, and even to have something that you can articulate the steps of, you have to do it like at least a handful of times, if not significantly more. And so what happens is that these people and we and everybody, we do these things time and time again, and then we're kind of ready to share them, and by that time we almost forget what that first time was like. And so when you're looking at a recipe, your chances are that you're not looking at the recipe from the first time someone did that, and if it is the first time, it's probably because they've done something slightly similar before. You're looking at a recipe that's a combination of the first and the fifth and the 10th time that somebody has done something, which has helped them refine the process and make it more effective and efficient at no matter what it is, baking or otherwise, and which is great. That's how we build new skills, doing it over and over again. But the recipes are not the initial time, and people aren't always taking into consideration that a lot of people are doing whatever it is on their very first time when they're reading or taking in and absorbing the instructions from somebody else. And so there's a couple issues here, and the first one is that we hardly ever share our first attempts at something. And even I bake all the time, and I never share my stuff until recently when I did my Easter cookie cake. I hardly ever share it because it doesn't seem picturesque, or it doesn't seem like worthy of being put out there, and I shouldn't do that, because if I'm going to share a recipe, I should be sharing the first and the 10th and the 50th time that I did something. I don't ever think I make the same thing 50 times, but so that people can see in between, so that people can see all the times that it didn't go smoothly. Because what happens is we try and it's not exactly how somebody else laid it out for us, And then we get frustrated that it took us longer, or that it was more frustrating, or whatever, and then we don't want to do it again, or we think that, oh, well, their recipe was stupid because it didn't work. And that happens with baking or online courses or whatever it may be. Steps to do anything in a yoga class, steps to do a pose. Like, you glance at somebody else and they're doing like that pose, but like 5 times in the next direction with the, increased level of intensity. You're like, holy crap, like, why aren't I able to do that? And it's because that person has done that pose 1,000 times. And we have to start sharing our early attempts at things. It's not only helpful for ourselves to be able to put all of our work out there, not just the best, but to say like, hey, I'm human, and for people to be able to kind of build a camaraderie around that. And also, it's good for other people. It's so good for other people to see you fail. It's great for other people to see, and not in like, haha, she failed kind of way, but, oh, okay, like that, it doesn't go smoothly when I do it either. And that's really important. It helps us build community and feel like we're all in this together. And another thing is that you have to, whatever you're making in life or in the kitchen, you have to use what you have and where you're at. And there are so many times, because normally like I decide what I'm going to make and then I just glance at the recipe when I'm in the food store, and then I end up forgetting 1 or 2 things, and I have to make substitutions and I have to make it up as I go. And use what you have. Use what ingredients you already have stocked. Use what you're able to do and find ways to shift things otherwise. Just because somebody gives you instructions on how to do something, unless it's maybe your boss, but other than that, there's nobody saying like you have to follow these exact steps. Nobody's saying you have to do life in this exact order, or it's not going to come out beautifully. The life kind of recipe doesn't work like that. And so the moral of this and the lesson of this video is, anytime that you've got instructions or a recipe on how to do something, make it your own. Add a little bit of flexibility. Don't be afraid to try something different than somebody else did, or to do it a different way. And if it's an educational thing that you're involved in a process of, or a resource for growing your business or something like that, always take everyone else's step-by-step instructions with a grain of salt. Literally and figuratively. See what I did there? Take them with a grain of salt and make them work for you. Stop trying to fit yourself into a mold of what everyone else wants you to create, or to create something exactly like somebody else did it. And you'll feel more confident in the process and afterwards if you build your own take on it, and if you integrate what you already have, what you already know. You're going to be far more likely to achieve success in whatever it is that way than if you try to follow it exactly to their standards, to step by step to the T, and then things go wrong. And then it's so easy to feel like all of the work that we put in didn't matter, when really we just need to try it again. We need to try the recipe, the instructions, the process again and again and again, in order to not necessarily perfect, but in order to cultivate our own recipe and our own process and our own step. And then someday we'll have it to share with others. So I don't know. I did share my ho-ho cake on Instagram, and I'm going to share you a picture, but I don't think I can quite share that recipe yet, but I should, and maybe I will. Alright, well, now we are going to dinner for my mom, round 2, and so I'm going to head out and stop the video, because it already stopped on me once. Have a great day. I hope that landed with you in some day, or I hope that landed with you in some way, and think about that as you're going through the rest of your week. Where are you kind of trying to apply steps from somebody else, and when are you trying to follow somebody else's step-by-step process, or even what looks like their step-by-step process based off of what they're putting out there, rather than trying to integrate it into what you already know, what you're already aware of, and then making it your own. Take that extra step to add your own twist on it, or just to integrate it in a way that's going to work for you. Alright, that's it. Have a great day. See you soon.